What heart-wrenching truths shattered my world? When I returned unannounced to the home I poured my soul into, only to discover my husband's lies, my best friend's deception, and a nursery painted with betrayal, leaving me to question every smile, every promise, and the life I thought was mine forever. The plane's engines hummed beneath me as we descended, a faint vibration rattling my nerves. I'd shaved 4 days off my trip to Tokyo, grueling months of boardroom battles, sleepless nights, and endless cups of bitter tea. And I hadn't told a soul. Not my husband, Diego, not my brother, Rafael, not even my best friend Marisol, who'd tease me for being so impulsive. I wanted to see Diego's eyes spark, to hear that low chuckle as he pulled me into his arms after 8 months apart. I'd been the breadwinner, the one who'd clawed our way out of debt, securing contracts that paid for our brownstone, our dreams. I pictured him now, sprawled on our couch, sketching designs for his next art project, waiting for me to come home. The cab from the airport wove through the city's arteries, streetlights casting jagged shadows across my lap. It was March 9th, 2025, the air crisp with early spring, and my pulse quickened as we neared our block. I clutched my leather satchel, resisting the urge to call ahead. Surprise was the thrill until it wasn't. Our street loomed ahead, and my breath caught. Cars jammed the curb, headlights glinting off chrome. Lanterns swayed from the porch, amber and violet, their glow eerie against the dusk. A banner stretched above the door, bold letters screaming, "Our future starts here." Music thumped, a rhythm I didn't know, and voices, too many voices, spilled out like smoke. This wasn't for me. This was something else. "Stop here," I told the driver, my voice tight. He pulled over 2 houses down, and I stepped out, the cold biting my cheeks. My boots clicked against the pavement as I dragged my suitcase. Each step heavier, dread pooling in my gut. The front door hung ajar, laughter and clinking glasses seeping through the gap. I pushed it open and froze. The living room was a fever dream. Fairy lights twinkled from the ceiling. A table sagged under gifts, boxes wrapped in silk ribbons, a cake with lavender frosting, and our friends, our family, swirled around like actors in a play I hadn't rehearsed. My mother hovered near the fireplace, adjusting a vase of lilies, her gray curls catching the light. Diego's cousin, Luis, lounged on the couch, mid-story, a beer dangling from his hand. And there by the window stood Marisol. Marisol, my rock, my sister in all but blood, radiant, her hands resting on a belly round with 8 months of pregnancy. Diego was beside her, his arm around her shoulders, his lips brushing her temple as he murmured something that made her smile. Time stopped. My chest caved, air turning to lead. The room hadn't seen me yet, but I felt it, the shift, the betrayal, sharp as a blade between my ribs. My father-in-law, Carlos, clapped Diego on the back, grinning. "The nursery's perfect, huh? You've outdone yourself, son." Marisol nodded, her voice soft. "He's been up late every night, painting it sage green, building the rocking chair. It's beautiful." Diego's hand slid to her waist, possessive, tender. "Just the mobile left. Little birds like we talked about. She'll love it." She. A daughter. My husband and my best friend crafting a life in my home. My mother spotted me first. Her vase slipped, shattering on the hearth, and her face went ashen. "Elena," she whispered, rushing over, her hands fluttering. You're early." She grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the hall. "Outside, quick, we'll sort this out." I wrenched free, my voice cutting the air like glass. "Sort what out, Ma? How Diego got Marisol pregnant while I was gone?" The room stilled. A collective gasp sucking the oxygen dry. Luis's beer hit the floor, foam pooling. Marisol's eyes widened, her hand flying to her mouth. Diego stepped back, his hands up, palms out like I was a bomb he could defuse. "Elena, wait! Don't you dare!" I snarled, my voice trembling with fury. "How long, Diego? How long have you been fucking her in our bed?" Silence crashed down, thick and suffocating. My mother twisted her rings. Carlos glared, and Marisol, God, Marisol, started to sob, her shoulders shaking. "It's not like that," Diego said, his voice cracking. "It wasn't planned." I laughed, a raw, broken sound that scraped my throat. "Not planned? You accidentally slept with her, painted a nursery, picked out a mobile? My gaze snapped to the hallway, to the stairs leading to our room, the room where I'd cried myself hollow after losing our son 2 years ago, where Diego had sworn we'd try again. Was it there? Did you screw her where I mourned our baby? Elena, please, my mother begged, stepping closer. You're making a scene. A scene? I whirled on her, my eyes blazing. I've been in Tokyo 8 months, Ma. 8 months killing myself to keep this roof over our heads, while you all threw a party for their kid. Where were you when I needed you? When I was bleeding out my future? Carlos stood, his voice gruff. Calm down, Elena. Marisol's in a delicate state. Think of the baby. The baby, I echoed, my tone venomous. Right. The baby you all fawned over while I was halfway across the world, thinking my husband still gave a damn. I turned to Marisol, her tears carving black rivers down her cheeks. You were my best friend. I told you everything. Every fight, every nightmare. You knew what that loss did to me. I didn't mean to, she whispered, her voice fragile. It just happened. Just happened. I stepped closer, my hands clenched. You didn't trip into his bed, Marisol. You didn't stumble into a nursery. You chose this, both of you. I spun to Diego. What was it? Did you tell her I was too busy, too distant? Did you play the lonely artist while I paid the bills? He swallowed, his dark eyes darting away. Elena, I screwed up. Can we talk? Privately? Privately? I barked another laugh. Like when you begged me to take that job? It's for us, Elena. We'll start fresh. I trusted you. I broke my back for us. And you used it to fuck my best friend. I pointed at Marisol, my arm shaking. Did you laugh at me? Did you pity poor Elena slaving away while you played house? No, Marisol cried, reaching for me. We didn't want to hurt you. Hurt me? I slapped her hand away, my voice rising. You didn't just hurt me. You gutted me, and you... I turned to Diego. Do you love her? He froze, his jaw tight, and that silence was a knife to my heart. I grabbed a gift from the table, a sleek box with a violet bow, and ripped it open. A tiny quilt, hand-stitched with birds. Sweet, I said, holding it up. Who's this from, Ma? A little something for your new grandkid? She flinched, and I flung it at Diego's feet. Take it. You'll need all the help you can get. Elena, stop, Carlos snapped. Diego deserves better than this. You were never here. Never here? I rounded on him, my voice a growl. I paid for this house, Carlos. Every mortgage payment, every light bulb, my money. I gave him everything, and he repaid me with her. I gestured at Marisol's belly. So, no, I'm not the villain here. He is. I stormed out, my suitcase banging the doorframe, the cold air slapping my face. Neighbors peeked from their stoops, drawn by the shouting, but I didn't care. I climbed into the cab, slammed the door, and choked out, Drive? My phone buzzed. Diego. Marisol, my mother. I shut it off, my nails digging into my palms until they bled. I wouldn't cry, not yet. They didn't deserve my tears. I checked into a boutique hotel downtown, all chrome and glass, the river glinting beyond the windows. The clerk handed me a key card, her eyes skimming my disheveled coat, but she stayed silent. In the room, I locked the door, collapsed onto the bed, and let it crash over me. Diego's touch on her, Marisol's tears, my mother's complicity, the nursery in my house. I curled up, my sobs tearing free, raw and jagged until my throat burned. But I wouldn't stay down. Not for them. The next morning, I called my lawyer, Victor, a pit bull in pinstripes who'd fought my corporate battles. Divorce, I said, my voice steel. I want everything I paid for, the house, the savings. He gets nothing. Victor's pen scratched. You've got proof? Every damn receipt, it's all mine. Perfect, he said, a grin in his voice. He's toast. Days turned to weeks. Diego's calls multiplied. Elena, please, I'm sorry. Let me explain. But I let them rot in voicemail. Marisol texted, I never meant to lose you. I blocked her. My mother showed up at the hotel, her face drawn. He's a wreck, Elena. You're killing him. He killed me, I said, shutting the door. She knocked again, but I turned up the TV until her pleas drowned in static. The divorce papers hit like a thunderclap. Diego tried to counter, claiming he'd supported me emotionally, but Victor dismantled him in court. The house was mine, every shingle, every pipe. He had 30 days to get out. I made sure to watch. The eviction was chaos. Boxes littered the yard, the lanterns long gone. Diego hauled a duffel, his hair wild, his shirt soaked with sweat. Marisol stood beside him, her belly massive, her eyes red. "Elena, you can't," he yelled, his voice hoarse. "This is my home." "Not anymore," I said, leaning against my rental car, arms crossed. "You made your choice." Marisol stepped forward, clutching her stomach. "Please, Elena, for her..." "For her?" I cut in, my voice ice cold. "The kid you made with my husband? That her?" She flinched, and I smiled, sharp and cruel. "You're on your own." The officer waved them off, and Diego kicked a box, swearing. Marisol trailed him, head down, as they drove away. I stayed until the house was empty, then listed it. Too many echoes. I sold it for a fortune, bought a penthouse, sky high, all windows, a view that swallowed the city, and started over. Diego unraveled. No job, no cash, no me to lean on. He crashed with Carlos, then Luis, then whoever'd take him. Marisol stayed longer than I'd bet, until she didn't. 9 months later, a friend called. She left him, filed for divorce, wants support for their girl, Sofia Diego, broke and scrambling, couldn't pay. Karma was a beautiful bitch. I saw him months later at a grimy bar we'd once loved. He was skeletal, unshaven, hunched over a whiskey. I slid onto a stool, ordered a martini, and waited. He glared. "Here to rub it in?" "Something like that," I said, stirring my drink. Heard Marisol bailed. "Took what scraps you had." He stared at the bar, his knuckles white. "You happy now?" "Thrilled," I said, leaning closer. "You had it all, Diego. Me, the house, a life, and you trashed it for her. How's that working out?" "She said I wasn't enough," he muttered, his voice splintering. "Said she needed stability." "Poetic," I said, standing. "Guess you're not the catch you thought." I dropped a 20 and walked out, his silence heavy behind me. I severed them all. My mother, Carlos, the whole Judas crew. They'd picked their side, and it wasn't mine. I built a new world, one that bowed to no one. New allies, new triumphs, a career that soared without anchors. The divorce finalized, the money locked tight, and Diego faded into a cautionary whisper. 2 years later, I heard Marisol remarried. A banker, steady as stone. Sofia called him daddy. Diego drifted, a shadow scraping by on odd jobs and regret. And me? I stood taller, fiercer, untouchable. The life I'd thought was mine had burned to ash, but from it, I forged something stronger, something no one could ever steal again.